And Parashat Behalotecha, we're talking about, first thing we talk about is the lighting of the candles on the menorah. And it's quite significant in terms of a personal message that it tells us. Chazal tells us that when they light the candles are not for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, again, doesn't need anything from us. He doesn't need candles to light the candelabra over there so he wouldn't be in the dark. The candles, the menorah, comes to tell us something for ourselves. And it's a reminder for us all the time that of our job, what our job is. And the job of the Jews is to be light for the nations. Since HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the Torah, we're supposed to learn the Torah, live according to the Torah, teach it to people, and by doing so, being a beacon of light for the nations. When we don't do that, and we don't become a beacon of light for the nations, for the glory of Hashem, we are basically failing our job. And a candle, for us to remember, is that we don't need to have like fireworks and projectors with shining, blinding light and so on and so forth. Sometimes all you need to get the message through is a candle. For example, if you want to have to propose your fiancé or something like that, you're not going to do it in a stadium. It's it's not personal. If you want to say something, so you take it to a place, to have a romantic dinner with a candlelight, and the candle itself gives a certain light that it's more pleasant, more warm, and then you can hear what the person is saying to you, or your words could be heard better due to the atmosphere in which the candle makes. A projector, it's so overwhelming, you can't be. This is not the way of Judaism. And this is not the way of the Torah. The way of the Torah, Darkei Noam. The ways, the path of the Torah is a pleasant path. And a candle is a good representer of that atmosphere, that attitude, that emotion that comes with the candle. And it's not always not only for the nation. Sometimes it's for our people as well. When we have, unfortunately today, most of the Jewish nation is not observant, in terms of Judaism, and which is it's a catastrophe. So how are we going to do that? Again, we cannot scare people with, you're going to be burned with hell. This is not the way of the Torah. The way of the Torah is a candle, nice. But there's a great remez beyond that. And that's why we use a candle, not a projector. Because if you put a light bulb, it gives you endless amount of light. And you don't really learn from it so much. You think that your resources are going to be so-called endless. A person needs to have this attitude in him, like a candle. A candle, the light comes from within. There's the wick. And the candle eventually ends. You should have the willingness to give from yourself without thinking, well, what's going to be with me? My resources are going to get depleted. That's why we have the candle, the remez of what we have in Beit HaMikdash. When they had the Western candle always stayed on. Ner Ma'aravi was always on. It was a miracle that happened. There was always oil that burned slower than anyone else. And by the time they came in the morning, all the other candles were off. This one stays on. You don't worry about that. You don't worry what will happen in terms of your resources. But you should have this willingness inside of you to be selfless, to be able to give yourself, even though that it seems like you're running out of power. That when we say lilmod ulelamed, limud Torah, the real limud of the Torah is dependent on your willingness to teach. So to give, to learn, I'm learning because I want to teach, I want to pass it on. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you tremendous siyata d'shemaya. Why? Right? I learn from everyone, but the most I learn from my students. So when you're teaching, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you, what does it mean I learned the most from my students? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you tremendous siyata d'shemaya, because you're going to spend your time now sitting down and learning book after book, tractate after tractate, encyclopedia after encyclopedia. You could have done it all for yourself, because that's, I need to learn, I want to be the biggest I can be. But he said, listen, I could have done this, but what's going to be with these people? So you are like the candle, you're giving from yourself, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu does chesed with you, and He gives you such an understanding that you could not have reached that if you would learn all by yourself. Just because you had this willingness to give from yourself to others. You have no idea, and you haven't yet experienced it, but one day you will, when you're going to be saturated, and then you'll start giving from yourself to others, you're going to say, oh my goodness, these things, where did it come from? It's like this divine inspiration that comes, and while you're talking, the gates open up for you, the floodgates, and otherwise it would never happen to you if you would sit down and learn. However, if you're only teaching so you could learn, so he said, I guess that this is how it works. I'm going, in order to make myself really big, I'm going to teach and then I could learn. It's not going to be good, because it has to be by the order. It has to be learning for the sake of teaching, not teaching for the sake of learning. You need to do this and let go of everything. When you let go, when you have this ability to let go from everything, then you become free. That's why they say, you become free because you need to realize that you need to give from yourself, and I don't need to worry about, do all the cheshbonot. If I'll teach him, maybe one day he'll be bigger than me, so therefore I cannot do it. So let me, I would not tell him all I know, because I don't want him to be wiser than me. You teach because that's what needs to be done. I get what I get, and I don't have a problem with that. So when you light the candles, and especially in today's day and age, we have to have the understanding that somewhere along the line we need to leave everything that we do, and we need to reach out for the people that are out there, because every Jew is like a chumash, like a sefer Torah. Every Jew contains within himself all the words of the Torah, all the brachot and everything of the Torah. And when we see a Jew, chas v'shalom, dying, aren't we supposed to do whatever we can to save this person? Chilul Shabbat is the biggest thing, to desecrate the Shabbat. However, we don't think about Shabbat, right? And if chas v'shalom somebody is in danger for his life, we leave everything, we go into the car, we do whatever we need to do. To the point where the Shulchan Aruch comes and writes, then who needs to do that? Who were supposed to lead by example? The most scholarly ones, the biggest chachamim of the town. Why? Because they should show by example what does it mean to be Torah, to save a person, the priority of to give from yourself for others, and not to say, why should I be Mechal Shabbat? Let him Mechal Shabbat. He's not such a big tzaddik. I'm more than him. No. He's a Jew, and I don't care. So that's for a person for danger of life, but there's a greater loss than a loss of a Jewish life, physical life. Is a loss of a Jewish life spiritually. That's also a form of death. Not only physical death, there is a spiritual death. And we all have to have this within ourselves, to be willing to give. Yes, okay, you can give if you're only a wick. You need some wax around you. But that willingness there, you know why you're getting bigger. You know why you're doing what you're doing. You know why you're learning. You know what you're doing. You're sacrificing what you're supposedly sacrificing. You're not. You're just doing what you're supposed to be doing. Why? For the sake of others. To reach out for those. And so if you have a friend who is not at that level, you bring him closer. You don't leave him out there. If you see people that are not learned as you, your job is to say, guy, well, won't you come and learn with me? Sit down. Let's sit down and learn. Nothing will happen to you. if you sit down and you learn with somebody who knows less than you. On the contrary, only good thing can happen. Forget about the flood of gates of knowledge that will open for you. You just made yourself maybe another friend. So altogether it's great. So when you bring, what is a beha'alotcha? To bring it, mazal leha'alot? Huh? To lift, to raise. So behadlikacha, when you're going to light the candle. Because the shalhevet, the fire, goes up. And then when you're going to realize this, then you're going to be able to lift yourself up higher. The light of the candle goes up. When you bring about the fire, and the fire is the fire inside of you. You need to have this fire inside of you as well. Then you can able to light, then you can shed some light, you can make this place into a better place. And this is what it's all about. We have to be selfless. And it's a tremendous remiss for us. That's why we light Shabbat candles. It's the candle. And that's why we do Havdalah, candle. All the remazim are there. Of course, there are great meditations that had to do with the fire. You know, when you meditate on the fire itself, of the candle, different lights. So that's beyond the scope of what we're talking about right now. The candle is a tremendous thing. The candle, that's what we light the candle of the person for Ner Neshama. Why do we light the candle when a person dies on the yard side? Because when a person is dead, when a Jew dies, a little light is gone. A little light, well, the potential light on the world is gone. So what do? We're symbolically lighting a candle to remind who? Ourselves of what we need to do. Because when a person is gone, is dead, there's nothing much you can do. The candle is not for the soul of the person. The candle is for a reminder for us. But what we need to do while we are alive to bring the light about. Shabbat Shalom.